Now, we're excited to introduce our next guest. So for centuries, pilgrims have traveled to Lourdes seeking healing, prayer, and a deeper encounter with Christ. Today, relics associated with Saint Bernadette and the Lourdes apparitions continue to inspire the faithful throughout the world.
And Father James Phalan has been helping bring that experience to people through the Lourdes Relics Tour, which makes these sacred treasures accessible to those who may never have the opportunity to travel to France themselves. Father Phalan, thank you so much for being with us. Welcome.
Hello, Kevin. Hi, Celeste. Very nice to meet you. Colette, excuse me. Very great to talk to you. It's great to hear those Boston accents. I'm a Boston kid, so.
Well, one of mine.
Working on it.
Tell us about the Relics Tour, if you can, Father, and why you chose to take on this role.
Well, we've been finding that that these visits of the relics of Saint Bernadette to various parts of the world have really touched a lot of lives. It really touched hearts. It's really moving and beautiful for many people. So now we're pleased to be bringing the relics to North America. I've just returned myself, and we're still in the middle of doing a shorter tour in Toronto. I was just there last week. But now we're beginning in the middle of September. On September 18th, we're having a big launch at the National Shrine in Washington. That's going to begin this year-long pilgrimage of the relics all around the United States. It's going to be beautiful. I'm really looking forward to it.
Wonderful. And you have the grace of being in Lourdes, which when I was there, I found was one of the most peaceful places in the world. So what do you hope to gain or achieve by bringing those relics all around the world?
Well, as you experienced then, Lourdes is a very special place. It's a unique place in the world. There are other Marian shrines too that are chosen places, chosen by Our Lady, as I see them as their homes of Mary around the world. But particularly referring to Lourdes, Lourdes has everybody feels it. You just mentioned it. Everybody feels that there's a beautiful sense of peace here. And I talk with people about it, about hundreds of people. Say, what do you feel here? I feel peace. Oh, that piece has a name. Oh, what's the name? It's Jesus. Mary came here to give us Jesus. And Mary was chosen to come here, as she has throughout the church history of the church, to manifest the Holy Spirit. I see Lourdes and other Marian shrines, but particularly Lourdes, it's a Pentecostal event, the ongoing revelations of the Spirit of the Holy Spirit in our times. Our Lady appeared here in 1858. She hasn't left. And she has come here. She appeared to Saint Bernadette, who then we're bringing relics of Saint Bernadette, so that Saint Bernadette can continue to go around the world and ask people to join her in this experience of what happened in her life, of how Our Lady led her to know Jesus profoundly. And because of that, then there's been a great manifestation of gifts of the Holy Spirit ever since then, manifestations of the Holy Spirit for our time. And so I see very clearly these relic tours are an opportunity with Bernadette for Mother Mary to keep reaching out to her children. For those who can't come here, she's going to them. I'm really delighted. I'm really looking forward. It's going to be a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and maybe you could expand on that too a little bit, Father, and maybe how relics and devotion to relics can enhance someone's faith life, and maybe if you have a personal story, because you've been with the tour for a little bit, maybe some of the things that you're seeing when people approach the relics.
Of course, our Protestant friends look at our devotion to relics and say, well, isn't that idolatry? Is it what it's showing again? We Catholics are kind of, that's not what's going on here. The relic we know the importance of symbol in the communication of our faith. We're symbolic, even just this conversation is about symbol. And through a powerful symbol like a relic, well, particularly in this case, it's a piece of a bone of this very holy woman. Bernadette, perhaps not everybody knows that probably everybody knows that Bernadette was a young girl and very simple, and Our Lady appeared to her. But Bernadette then, throughout her life after the apparition, she became a very holy woman. She's so holy that her body remains to be uncorrupt in the convent where she lived and then died in central France. So bringing a relic is like it's a very concrete, symbolic manifestation or concrete, symbolic gesture that of Saint Bernadette reaching out and Saint Bernadette calling people to experience what she experienced. And that's what Lourdes is. Lourdes is filled with concrete symbols. Look, everybody knows about the Lourdes water that people drink, and there have been hundreds. God only knows how many miraculous healings have happened through people drinking their Lourdes water, spending time in the grotto, just being in this holy place. I'm really looking forward to helping Bernadette bring Our Lady and bring this experience of Lourdes to people all around the United States.
Awesome. Father, you said that there will be a relic of Saint Bernadette. Are there any other relics that are going to accompany the tour?
No, it's a relic of Saint Bernadette. That's enough. We'll be going to parishes and having various we'll be inviting people to participate in some of the activities that we do at Lourdes. You know, many people have heard about the Candlelight procession each night at Lourdes, and praying the rosary together, washing with Lourdes water. We'll be carrying Lourdes water with us and giving people the opportunity to wash and to drink Lourdes water. So again, it's a kind of participation in the mystery that is Lourdes, bringing Our Lady of Lourdes to people, helping reach out to touch people, and particularly what Lourdes is. I see Lourdes as being kind of it's a city on a hill. You know, there's an experience of peace in this place. As people come together, they come together to pray. They come from all over the world. Our Lady manifested, Lord. She didn't say who she was until after he should put everything in place. And then at that point, she said, "I am the Immaculate Conception." She's a sign of the dawning of the new creation, a sign of the new creation, a sign of the kingdom of heaven among us. Lourdes remains as this sign of the kingdom of heaven, a city on the hill, in our world now, which is so discordant and full of strife, and at times it can seem kind of scary to people. Lourdes is a call to peace. Lourdes is a call to live together, to be a community of prayer, a community of brothers and sisters, an international community, a community then that serves and takes care of the sick. We hope that this pilgrimage of the Lourdes relics will be a sign for people going around the country and inviting people to be part of this community of peace, to offer an alternative without political discourse. I mean, there are different political viewpoints, and different people have different things to say. If we can start with some kind of foundational agreement, some foundational experience of being brothers and sisters, all concerned about loving each other and concerned about most in need. That's why I see very much this is a strong, a very concrete aspects of the pilgrimage of these relics.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I can say that my experience there, definitely seeing really the entire world, different religions and sorts of people from all over the world, different clothing, everything. You got to see them all finding peace and seeking God there. So beautiful. You get to carry that to people who maybe can't have the opportunity to go, or maybe will be inspired to visit. So where can people learn more about the Lourdes Relics Tour, and when is the tour going to come to Boston?
The tour is going to come to Boston, specifically the last weekend of October. And we'll be coming on Thursday. I think that's like the 28th or the 29th, and we'll be visiting various spots. The last place was going to be on the campus of Stonehill College, the Holy Cross Family Ministries, on Election Day, the night before, and then Election Day was at the 3rd. So, and if you want to find out about the Relic Tour, www.saintbernadette.org, www.saintbernadette.org.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Father Phalan, for sharing about this. We're excited to receive you here in Boston.